Hey everybody. Hey, a few weeks ago I did a video on the Watt Cycle 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate trolling motor battery. Now at the time I did the video I told you guys with a lithium iron phosphate they weigh a lot less, so I wanted something like that for my trolling motor, something easy to carry around. But I also was looking for something I could use for a portable power supply. When the power went out, I'd have a battery I could use to at least give me power for some items during a power outage. And I'd like it to be portable and small enough I could carry it all around the farm and use it anywhere I needed it. That's why I was going to build a battery box, which is what we're going to do today. Now, between the time I made that video and today, I've talked to the people at Watt Cycle. And the folks at Watt Cycle said, you know, the battery box is a really neat idea, but you know, it might help you out is even a smaller battery yet. So the folks at Watt Cycle were nice enough to send me the Watt Cycle 100 amp hour mini battery. And as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller than even the trolling motor battery. And as light as this is, at just over 23 pounds, this battery comes in at just over 20. So the box I have here with inverter and everything I've been working on weighs just around 10 pounds. If I add in a 20-pound battery, I will end up with a portable power supply that weighs right around 30 pounds, which means just about anybody could carry that anywhere they need it. So what I'm going to do, I haven't put the battery into the power supply box yet. Let me put it in the box, we'll get her set up, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to do for a battery box. All right, let's lay the battery box. In my case, I'm using a DeWalt toolbox. And basically I'm using that because I already had it. I was going to purchase a little more of a lightweight box, but I got to thinking, inverter, battery, everything, 30 pounds, you still want a pretty decent box with a pretty good solid handle and latches on it. So I decided to go ahead and use the DeWalt. And the other option is there are probably 3 or 4 other brands that make boxes that are very similar. So if you did one with that, everything would still pretty much work the same. Before we get inside, let's start on the outside. Shutoff switch. I decided to put a main shutoff. So basically what I have is from the positive terminal on my battery, I'm going directly to this. And then from this, I go to bus bars and go to everything else inside to give power to everything. Right now it's off. I turn it like this. It's now activated. Everything would work on the inside now. So I decided I wanted a power switch on the outside to shut the power off. So I set that there. You could put it on the whole thing on the outside, but I decided to recess it a little bit. On the front, I have double plugs on the front. The top one here, USB, charge your phone, that type of stuff. Second one, cigarette lighter adapter. Basically, it's like in an earlier video I have like a 200 watt little inverter that plugs into cigarette lighter. That would be here. You can always use that instead of the big inverter on the inside. If it's just something small, you don't have to use the big inverter. You can get by with a smaller one. There is one other plug on the outside right here. We'll discuss that one a little bit later because that one is always hot. That is always hot. All right, let's go on the inside. Now I did things a little different than some people do. First I added a hinge. Had to have a hinge to hold things because I put my inverter on the lid. A lot of people are putting them down inside. That's fine, but it's a little harder to get to the plugs. But so many people want, I want a waterproof box or water resistant and all that. I don't care about any of that stuff. All right, even if I took this on a camping trip, took it out in the camping, I'm not necessarily going to leave it out in the rain. And if I use it in the house or in one of my outbuildings or something like that, it's not going to be in the weather. I felt was much more important than that was have this inverter where it can run cool. They got a fan, they need to run cool, and up here it gets plenty of airflow. It's not going to be restricted. That's going to make my inverter last a lot longer. So it was a little more work putting it on the lid, but I figured in the long haul that's going to be better. All right, let me show you overhead. I got a picture. We'll show you overhead what's inside. Battery. Right in the middle, yeah, it's laying on its side, isn't it? That's fine. Lithium iron phosphate batteries can lay sideways, on the ends, on the bottoms. I guess you can't put them on their posts. They wouldn't work too well that way, but they can run about any position you want to lay them. To the left of the battery, I put everything there. You can see the inside of the shut-off switch, the power right there in the front corner on the left side. There's your main power that's going from the battery to the switch, and there is a inline fuse, a 150 amp inline fuse between the battery and that switch. From the switch, the power goes down to bus bars. There's two on the bottom. The red one there on the left side of the battery is for all the positive cables. The black one, of course, for all the negative cables. So everything connects down there. Whether it's the inverter or whether it's those plugs on the front, they all go to the bus bars and then they go to the battery from there. So that has everything on the inside. Now, if you're connecting your inverter to your battery, if you've never done this before, you're going to get a spark. There are capacitors in the battery, and when you touch the cable, you're going to get a spark just because they're powering up those. You can avoid that with a resistor. And let me show you, just out of here over here, let me grab this other battery quick. And I have just a cheapy inverter here. This is just a little cheapy one. What you would end up doing is you hook your positive, and then in here you touch this to your negative, touch that, let it sit there for 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, whatever you want, and then you hook it to the battery. No spark. Without that, it would have sparked. Now, this is just a smaller inverter, so it's not a real big issue. But when we get over here, move this back out of the way, when we get over here to 1500 watt, 2000, 3000 watt inverters, that's a pretty big arc when you hit those things. You do not want that spark. I mean, there can be stuff flying. You get stuff in your eye. You don't want to do that. So if you're going to hook them up, grab yourself a resistor, and that will help avoid the spark. Now, I mentioned the outside plug here. This one's different. And if we go back inside, we'll take a look. I got a bunch of wires over here, and you can see they do have an inline fuse on that line. Those lines go directly to the battery. They are the only lines here that go directly to the battery. And why is that? Well, you got to charge a battery. And I have a smart charger here that I purchased for charging lithium iron phosphate batteries. And I'm going to tell you real quick, I bought this charger because a standard everyday charger will not charge lithium iron phosphates to their full capacity. But I hated buying just a charger for lithium iron phosphate. There are other things you could use one for. This charges mobile. This will do lead acid batteries. If I need to charge the battery in my car or my pickup or something else, my lawnmower or something like that, I can use that, or I can set it for the lithium iron phosphate too. So that's why I bought this one. It's multi, it'll use for a lot. But right now it has these, and I will take them off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those off and replace it with this. This is what's known as an SAE connector. A lot of people don't like them too much, and I can understand. If you're not careful, you can start mixing up the reds and the blacks. As long as red goes to red and black goes to black, you never have a problem, all right? But I like the SAE for here because what I can do is I can cut these off, put this on, and now I plug this right in the front. And when I plug it in, I can now charge the battery without having to try to get down inside where it's kind of tight with a pair of alligator clamps. Secondly, I can also, down the line, charge this battery with solar panels. So the same way, I can take my solar panels, put them to a connector like this, plug it in the front of my battery box, and I'm now charging my battery with solar panels. So that's why I left that one hot, so I didn't have to do anything or change anything or do anything. They just went straight to the battery. Now, I've gone over a lot of stuff today with a lot of items. If you go to the description, everything I put in here, I will put a link in the description. I will tell you they will all be Amazon affiliate links, which means if you click on those and buy something from there, I will get some credit for it. You're not going to pay any extra. I get a little bit of credit. I'll put all the switch, everything on the front, everything here. I'm not going to put the bus bars. And the only reason is I bought those. I didn't look close. They had 1/4-inch studs. I think you're better off with a 5/16 or a 3/8. So if you get into something and you want bus bars, I would look for something with a little bit bigger. I almost bought another set and I thought, no, we'll just go with these for now. Otherwise, everything else that's in, and that'll include your charger, and I'll include this small inverter. I'll put links to all that down in the description. As I said, Amazon affiliate links. One other thing. We had the trolling motor battery from the last video. I have the mini here. Now the trolling motor battery is a smart battery. All right, so when I take that battery, and I'll show you real quick, I have an app on my phone and I have the ability to see what's going on with that battery. So right now that battery's at 100% charge. I just used it a while back and I just charged it up this morning, so it's at 100%. So that's nice. You can see what's going on in your battery. This mini here is not a smart battery, but White Cycle does sell a mini smart battery that would have, you could download an app and use that. So here's what they said they'd do. This battery, this straight mini here, the trolling motor smart battery, and the mini smart battery, those three, you'll find links for all three of those in the description. And if you use the code FCTS, Full Curl Trophy Sheep, they'll give you an additional 6% off, and that's on top of any other discounts they already have going for them. And I looked the other day, they've got some pretty good discounts already going on these batteries. So I've been so happy with the trolling motor. What I have used it the last few weeks. I've used it here, there, and I love the app in it. You really might look at those with the apps in them, the smart battery, a little bit more. This doesn't have it, so what I will probably do in the future is I may buy a battery monitor. And I think I'm considering buying a battery monitor so I can see the rate of charge. I can tell, is this 100% charge, 80%, 60%, what is it? Do I need to recharge those batteries, or are they good for a while? So, but a battery monitor, even a low-cost one, is $36, $37. So at that point, if you're going to do that, you might as well buy the mini with the Bluetooth and the app, and that way you've already got it. You would need a battery monitor. That should be everything for you. If you want to build a battery box, and as I said, if you don't want to go to that extent, buy a inverter, even that bigger inverter. You could take that big inverter and hook it direct to a battery. I'd be using battery cables. I would not use a 1500 watt inverter like that on one of these batteries. I wouldn't be using alligator clips, all right? I would use regular battery cables. You can hook direct to the battery with the inverter, bypass. You don't need all the other stuff if you don't want it. And just remember, if there's anything you need, this is what you want, so you don't get the spark when you're hooking the battery to the inverter. All right, that's all I got from this. I hope if you have any questions, leave down in the comments. I'll try to answer any questions if you got down in the comments, but otherwise, that is my portable power station battery box. See you next time.